The Kings turned in 2 wins and had a little bit of a wacky adventure in Columbus. We're going to talk about that, plus previewing the week for the Ontario Reign on this episode of Locked On Los Angeles Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As always, my name is Sarah Avampado, host of Locked On Kings. Glad to be here with you as you're listening to this show about your favorite hockey team and mine, the Los Angeles Kings, and or also the Ontario Reign. Thank you for listening to the show today, for making this your first listen of the day, every day on your favorite podcast network or the YouTubes or, I don't know, Bat Signal. Today's show is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, it's where the game starts. We will, of course, be glad to be talking to you about the Kings today. And as is our new normal routine here on the show, we've got Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets here to talk to us about the Kings and the Reign and whatever that Blue Jackets game was. And we know, whatever else happens to like come to mind. So this is a Mini Kings Monday. We're actually going to be talking about the Mini Kings today. But first, we're going to start with looking at the Kings and their win over the Blue Jackets over on Friday. I'll just put this out here now for the record. I do believe that I predicted it to be a high-scoring, weird game, and I don't know about you, but I think they delivered on that, right?
I mean, I guess. Yeah, no, they sure did. I believe one or both of us also said it was going to be a 4-3 overtime game. And mother friggin' 4-3 hockey games, right? It was a weird one. Like, I didn't realize how weird it was until I went back and watched the highlights in preparation for recording this. But like 3 Blue Jackets goals in 46 seconds, and then the Blue Jackets getting their 8th goal of the season called back for being offside. That's not hyperbole. It's literally the 8th time this has happened this season. And then Viktor Arvidsson completing the hat trick in overtime, which as soon as the Jenna goal was called back, I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. I see how this game is ending, and it's ending on either Viktor Arvidsson scoring the game winner in overtime or in the shootout.
I mean, there's only one way for that to have gone, really. Yeah, the whole like 3 goals in less than a minute was just, it was one of those things where like I wasn't able to watch that game because I was, doing stuff. But I saw the first goal from Patrick Laine and I was like, oh, well, it's a tie game, whatever. And then I feel like by the time between the time I had a thought about it and then refreshed Twitter, suddenly the Kings were losing 3-1. And I was like, what? How, did I just have a stroke? What had just happened? And also I post this question on Twitter and I will now ask you, what is a Justin Danforth?
He's kind of like a Brandon Dubinsky, except he's 5'7".
Oh, he's a mini Blue Jacket.
He's very small. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup this season because injuries, and also he was kind of a fringe guy. But with Alexander Texier out, he's kind of been playing that role on the 4th line of, I'm just going to skate around a lot and cause some chaos, and he's got a pretty good shot. That was his 5th goal of the season, which surprised me, honestly. But yeah, he's one of those hashtag energy players that coaches love. But also he kind of is effective at the same time, which I like.
Yeah, I always feel like whenever, the Kings are always the team that gets scored on by someone I've never heard of before in my life. And then, like anytime it is someone I swear I've never heard of before, I was like, oh, sure. Of course that just happened. But yeah, the Viktor Arvidsson hat trick was like very satisfying. What Also in this game, Dustin Brown scored, and I feel
knew
like he scored
as soon as we finished recording and the game started, and I was watching Dustin Brown skate, and I was like, I was really mean about him on the podcast. He is absolutely scoring tonight, and he did score, and it was such a stupid, dumb goal.
Yeah. Not only did he score, I think he did it to spite us. He also scored in the game that the Kings just played on Sunday against Buffalo, who scored an empty net goal in there. So now Dustin Brown has like a goal streak happening, which is hilarious. There's someone I follow on King's Twitter, shout out to you if it's you out there listening to the show, who has like a meme picture that he posts whenever Dustin Brown scores, and the caption is "F them kids."
Excellent.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me laugh, but also I'm like, dear Kings, don't do anything dumb. Like, do not just let Dustin Brown go quietly into the night when his contract is done. Like, it's fine, unless you come to an agreement that like we're gonna re-sign you, but like you have to be okay with only playing like every other game. But whatever. Viktor Arvidsson hat trick though, that was very fun and very satisfying. What happened from your perspective, the Blue Jackets' perspective, on that goal that got called back? Like, just what we love mess around here, but what was all that mess?
Blue Jackets don't know what the offside rule is, I think is what's happening here. And for some reason, the thing that frustrates me about it is I don't understand how the refs and the linesmen aren't catching it at the time. Because, like, I think it was Zakharensky was about half a foot offside, and it didn't get caught at the time. Boone Jenner scored. Obviously, everyone was like, "Ah!" And then it got called back. And like, that's the frustrating thing to me, is that this keeps happening, and for whatever reason, the team just doesn't seem to get the calls. And also the other thing as well was that Jake Voracek got blatantly hooked on like about 3 seconds before the Kings would score the game winner, which hilariously also happened twice in the game against Boston that they played the night afterwards. Apparently it's just legal to do crimes to Jacob Voracek right now, which I don't love. And I'm not normally one to complain about officiating, because I do understand it is a hard job. The game is so fast, especially when you're actively on the ice. Things are going to get missed, but it is frustrating when things like that happen. You know, like a missed call leads directly to a goal for the other team, or when this is literally the 8th time that the Blue Jackets had to get a goal called back for offsides. There was a period in December where they had 5 goals in 8 games called back for being offside.
No, that's horrible.
And like, yeah, okay, maybe they should be better at staying onside, but also maybe the refs should be better at calling those.
Right. Like this is all what Nate McKinnon and Matt Duchene's fault. This is all their fault.
Yes.
If they hadn't like had that one goal years ago that was so blatantly offside, like we wouldn't be in this position today, and yet here we are. So thanks, guys, I guess. No, it's horrible. I think I was telling you when we were chatting after the game, like it really reminds me of that season a couple years ago where the Kings it was like whenever they first started cracking down on goalie interference calls, but it was very clear that no one knew what goalie interference was, and like no matter what it was, it always went against the Kings. And I feel like that year there were just a couple of games that, like, had they won them without having those goals called back, like they could have potentially been in a much better position than they were at the end of the season. But it's just it's so frustrating to be like, what do you want from us then? What do you want from us?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think goaltender interference, I think, is different because it is so subjective. It shouldn't be, but it depends on who's playing, who the goalie is, who ran into him, like what the official in Toronto ate for lunch that night, that morning. Like it's so subjective, and I feel like it changes every game. In theory, offsides should be the same every single time, and for some reason it feels like they just can't bother to call close offsides anymore because they know it's going to go to review. But it's, I don't know, I have a whole rant saved up for how the offside rule is stupid anyway.
So go listen to Locked On Blue Jackets in the future for your complaint about offsides.
It's crying about Rick Nash and it's complaining about the offside rule. That's it. That's today's episode.
Fair. That's super fair.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's extra frustrating as well because like in the grand scheme of things, the Blue Jackets did not have a terrible weekend. They came away with 2 out of 4 possible points, but they had an overtime loss and a shootout loss on what I would consider winnable games.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a Blue Jackets podcast. This is a Kings podcast, so we won't like harp on it for too long. But man, what a frustrating way to go to go 500 as per the NHL's stupid 500 rules. They lost 2 games, but somehow they're coming out of it as a 500 weekend. What a stupid, frustrating way to come out of a weekend with 2 out of a possible 4 points.
Yeah, I feel like as anyone who has watched a team just find ways to lose when you're like, why did you just, that just happened. Like, I get it.
This might as well happen, Jacob,
right. Right, like this is where we're at. Like, I guess, fine. Well, we will take a look also at the Kings win in Buffalo, because I guess that's allowed to happen now. We'll look at that, plus taking a look at the Ontario Reign coming up next in the show. But first, I'm excited to get to tell you about Athletic Greens, which is not a fancy name for a golf course. It is a supplement for, improving your insides. So definitely not a golf course. If you're like me, you're tired all the time. Your doctor keeps telling you, eat a vegetable, take some vitamins, go look at the sun and touch some grass and stuff. And if you're like me, you basically don't do any of that ever at all, no matter how much you should. Well, Athletic Greens makes all of that super easy. You don't have to touch some grass or anything. You just get the product. With one scoop, I'm keeping that in. With one scoop of Athletic Greens, you're getting 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, superfoods, and probiotics to help you get your day started right. This fancy blend helps support your gut health, energy, recovery, and very importantly these days, your immune system. I'm always looking for easy ways to improve on my overall health. I'm lazy. I don't want to do too many steps. And so I'm excited to get to try this one. And you should be too. It's a simple way to help you take care of yourself every day. And there's no artificial anything. It's all natural and all great for you and your body. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one nutritional insurance to help your body be the best it can be. And for every purchase, Athletic Greens donates to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States, with over 1.2 million meals donated to kids in 2020. Right now, it is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day, and that is it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Maybe the Buffalo Sabres could have used some nutritional insurance. It seemed like they had some problems getting themselves up for their game against the Kings on Sunday. It was a matinee game. It was in Buffalo, which I feel like neither of those things usually go well for the Kings. They have had they've only recently started winning games in Buffalo. They had an embarrassingly long 15-year streak or something of not having won a game in Buffalo, even with how bad the Sabres in. So it was nice to see them get this win. They've won a few times there over the past couple of years. I'm proud to say I was at the game in Buffalo where they finally broke that streak about 3-4 years ago or something. It was very exciting for me. I was worried I was going to have to go to every Kings game in Buffalo ever in the future just to keep the streak going. So glad to see that it didn't have to happen. And most importantly, 3-0 win for the Kings. Cal Petersen gets the shutout against the team that drafted him and he decided not to go to. So congrats, Cal.
That's got to be satisfying, right?
There's he did, of course, the post-game interview with Carlin Bathe over on Bally, what's it called? And the like screenshot, the like still image in the tweet of it, he just has this like very satisfied smile on his face. And I'm not going to watch the clip because I just want to like use my imagination to like tell myself what that like smile was all about. But yeah, it has to be super satisfying. And like, honestly, like, sure, life hasn't been easy for the Kings. And, you know, it's not like Cal Petersen has 3 Stanley Cups or anything right now. But like, you know, I think his life is probably a little bit better than had he decided to sign with Buffalo.
Oh, almost definitely. I feel like this is not the first time that Buffalo has been burned by a guy that they drafted who then decided, actually, I'm gonna go play somewhere else.
Literally anywhere else. I remember like whenever Jack Eichel was drafted by them, you know, he played that like 1 year of college and then, you know, obviously signed professionally. But I feel like there was definitely a very like vocal chunk of hockey Twitter that was like, Jack, don't do it. Just play out your college eligibility and go to free
Be
agency.
free.
Be free. I was like, what was it like? Was Owen Power who they got in the draft? Did they?
Yes, Owen Power went back to
Yeah.
Michigan this season, and there is part of me that's like,
Stay there.
do it, Owen.
Yeah,
Do the
I would
thing.
love to see it. Like, it would be so petty, but like, I mean, I feel like it's a subject of a whole other podcast, but like, that's literally the only control over a career that like a young player has, and it's only those NCAA guys.
Right, because it's happened.
Yeah.
Jimmy Vesey did it as well. I remember he went back to
Mhm.
college for he did a 4th season in college and basically
Mhm.
let his rights expire, and then ended up signing somewhere. And I feel like Mike Riley did it as well,
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
is in Boston right now.
Oh, that's right.
But he's played for a bunch of teams. He was an original Blue Jackets draft pick, actually, which is
Yeah,
how
that's
I
right.
remember this. Because I remember being like super salty at the time, like, man, are we not good enough for you? He ended up signing in, I want to say, Minnesota.
I think so.
It was either Minnesota or Chicago. Those were the two
Yeah.
two finalists. And I remember being super salty, like, man, is Columbus not good enough for you? And like, at the time, Columbus was not very good, so you know you can't blame a guy. But also, yeah, like it's over the years I've kind of realized how little say these guys have in
Mhm.
where they play, especially at the age of, you know, basically until they hit unrestricted free agent
Mhm.
status, which is what, 26, 27?
Yeah.
Like that's a long
so
time
much of your career. Yeah.
to basically have the teams. And I think that's, you know, that's kind of what happened with, again, Jack Eichel, is
Mhm.
he had no say in
Anything.
what was happening, where he was going, whether he could get the surgery or not. And so, yeah, you know, shout out to Cal Petersen for being like, you know what, I'm going to take this teeny tiny bit of control that I have and I am going to exert it, and I am going to play for a team that I choose and not the team that holds my rights. He became an unrestricted free agent, right?
Yeah. And then like as soon as that like unrestricted free agency hits, like the day he signed with the Kings. And I remember them like saying that basically they essentially used like Jonathan Quick to woo him to sign for the team. And I was like, tell me everything about this. Like this is great.
Yes, tell me. I will accept the 3,000 word article on The Athletic about that.
Right? Yeah. And you know, just imagine like as a young American goaltender, like, and we've talked before, like, you know, Quick is a guy that, you know, A, and goalies in general have looked up to, and B, if you're an American goalie, you're absolutely like looking up to him as someone to, you know, emulate and idolize or whatever. So like, you know, I there has to be some element of being like starstruck that you're sitting down at a table like over like some fancy expensive LA steak dinner with Jonathan Quick, and you're getting sold a story of how you're going to get to play alongside Jonathan Quick. You're like, yeah, give it to me. Like, what did Buffalo have for him? Nothing. Like Ryan Miller was gone by then, so they didn't even have a like elite American goalie to woo him with. They just had Buffalo, and you know.
I mean, I guess how you feel about chicken wings, you know?
Right, probably terrible. And you know, Cal Petersen's from Iowa. I've driven through Iowa in the winter. It's horrible. Like it's just snow and cold and flat and nothing. So, you know, why wouldn't you want to go to LA and never be cold again? that would be my, like, if I was a caught, like, I'd be like, I'll go there. I don't even care if they're good. Like,
yeah, I feel like this is what we talked about with Phil Kessel in Arizona. A couple, like, not last Mini King Monday, maybe the one before that. Like, if I was Phil Kessel, I'd be like, no, I'm staying right here. It is warm all the time, and there is no pressure because the team is terrible. Like,
like, yeah, it's why wouldn't you want that? Especially a guy like Phil Kessel, who has made his money. He's won his Stanley Cups. Like, why wouldn't you just do whatever you want? Like, just go.
yeah, exactly.
We did, of course, in this game get some great performances from what's his face, Andreas Athanasiou. He scored.
Yes. Noted what's his face.
Yeah, noted what's his face. He scored the Kings' only real goal. It was a 3-goal game. 2 of those were empty netters.
Which, as we all know, are fake.
They're super fake. Like, they
I
didn't.
don't know if I've pushed this agenda on Locked On Kings before, but my agenda on Locked On Blue Jackets is always empty net goals don't count. So really, the Kings won a 1-0 game.
Yeah,
with
that's
some
fine.
bonus stat padding, but
That's all right. I'm into it. Very into it. But we had, a great goal from Athanasiou, who, like, used his speed to get into the zone, but then, like, I watched the replay and I'm like, he wasn't even that speedy. He just had a very good shot. And, poor Dustin Tokarski was like, well, there we go.
But the frustrating thing as well is to mention just Dustin Tokarski at the minute is I looked at how many shots the Kings had, and immediately it was like, oh, okay, 3 goals on 32 shots. That's not terrible. And then I remembered that 2 of them were empty net goals, so I went to see how many shots he actually faced. And Dustin Tokarski made 29 of 30 saves in this game. And the team just couldn't do anything. Dustin Tokarski should be allowed to stab a member of the Buffalo Sabres of his choosing.
Right, like whichever one he picks. Like, and in this game, I just pulled it up. Kings 32 shots, like you said, 2 of those were on that empty net. Kings had 15 shots in the first period. The Buffalo Sabres total overall whole game, 19 shots. So, yeah, Dustin Tokarski should absolutely get to, like, fight the teammate of his choosing, because that's just offensive. Trevor Moore had 4 shots. Oli Mata had 3. So good for you, Oli Mata.
I guess.
Right. For the Sabres, shooting was largely dominated by Alex Tuck and Tage Thompson. They had 4 + 3 is 7. They had 7 of Buffalo's 19 shots. Like,
yeah, that feels correct.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a pathway to success. Like, word to the Buffalo Sabres, that's not how you, like, win a game when 2 guys have, I wish Jason were here to do the math for me because he could do it on the spot, but, like,
and it's like 40% of the shot.
Yeah, slightly under 50%. Geez, slightly under 50% of your shots come from 2 guys, and meanwhile, Alex Tuck went, like, face first into the post at some point.
Man, that was
bad.
That was extremely scary. And also, I didn't tweet about it at the time because I was kind of half watching the game and half napping because of who I am as a person.
Right.
The game was super boring. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I'm so over the slow pan over the injured player and then repeatedly watching the injury in slow motion and then panning back over to the player lying face down on the ice. I'm over it. I'm done. Why can we as a league just agree that we don't need to see the player being injured over and over and then watch their motionless body lying on the ice? I hate it.
And I feel like that definitely varies from broadcast to broadcast, like what team's broadcast you're watching and everything. Because I have seen some that have treated it very sensitively, and they'll replay it like once so you know what happened, because as hockey moves so fast, like you miss exactly what happened on a play. But yeah, the, like, let's watch this and, like, repeat, and then from another angle, and then in slow motion, like, especially on a play that, like, is that scary.
Yeah, because I originally thought that he had gone face first into the post, and I was like, oh, that's That's not good. And then I guess it turns out that he went into it like neck first, which is not any better. But so like I appreciated seeing it once, but then after that I was like, I don't need to see it in slow motion several times, please.
Right. Yeah, like let's move on.
Having looked at the list of the Buffalo Sabres, of which I know like 6 guys, because this team, man, I have decided that it should probably be Casey Fitzgerald that gets stabbed. He played 21 minutes on defense. He had 1 blocked shot. He had 1 giveaway, 1 shot on goal, 1 hit, and was a -2.
I mean, speaking of players I've literally never heard of before in my life, like what's a Casey Fitzgerald?
I feel like he was one of those Boston University boys. You remember when that time that there was like 7 BU boys that were all of a kind of a likeness and played on the same team?
That feels right. The
NHL app will not tell me where he played, but he is from Massachusetts. So
yeah, he's one of them. Then.
One of those.
He's from a Boston
BC boys. So yeah, he is my candidate for being allowed to be stabbed by Dustin Tokarski, because as we've mentioned on the show, I think goalies should be allowed to do a little murder. Yeah, as a treat.
Yeah, it really should be part of their world. We also had a scary moment with Viktor Arvidsson, who, fresh off of his hat trick game, also sort of went face first into the boards at one point and left the game. He made his way back to the bench on his own. He was fine, but shortly afterwards went down to the tunnel and for medical attention. So hoping that works out okay for him. I don't think he returned to the game.
No, he's day to day at the minute. I believe I saw on Twitter, which
so that's rough.
Not ideal.
No, and then of course, the Kings like big brained this one because they decided after Arvidsson went out that the person they were going to bump up to the second line to play with Phil Deneau and Trevor Moore was Dustin Brown.
I'm gonna turn into the Joker about it. I really am. Like, is it me? I feel like I'm being gaslit by this team. Is it me? Am I in the wrong here?
No, there was definitely I could feel like 1,000 voices shouting on Twitter whenever that happened of why did you do this? Like immediately people were like, where is Arthur Kaliev? Like, is he dead? Like,
yeah, did Alex Iafallo die? My condolences.
Right.
This team.
Like, I get that, like, okay, it's like thinking on the moment, like whatever, but like no offense to Dustin Brown. He scored a goal. Sure, it wasn't a real goal, but whatever. Very long career, whatever. There are so many other people who I would have bumped up to that line before Dustin Brown. And so, like, if anything that I'm curious about for the Kings play again on Monday, because of course they do, because why wouldn't they? I'm curious to see what they do if Viktor Arvidsson is going to be out for a little bit, which I think that he should be.
Dustin Brown played 16 minutes.
Why?
Andreas Athanasiou played 13.
Stop doing this to us.
He played more hockey than Sean Dursey.
No.
Sean Dursey played.
No. I hate this.
14:56. Dustin Brown played 15:55.
Oh my gosh, why?
I'm going insane. Like, genuinely, I feel like I'm going to turn into the Joker about this. What is going on?
I don't know. We can continue having feelings about this because now I'm mad about it that I've realized this. We can continue having feelings about this in just a second, but I think first, I do want to make sure that everyone knows that this show obviously is here for you, but also you should also be making sure that you're listening to Locked On Now. It is our daily podcast featuring recaps of all the NHL games. You get analysis and quick hits from all of our local experts and hosts from across the Locked On NHL. So make sure you check it out. And there's some other cool things that you have to tell us about as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Bet Online, because if I had put money on this game against Buffalo, I probably would not have put money on the Kings winning, because it felt like a trap. And you know where I would have taken my betting business to? It is betonline.net, because football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for pro and college hoops, as is hockey, boxing, UFC, right down to Vegas casino games, which I don't believe have a season to speak of. But all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs, and they remain the best spot for all your sports score, podcasts, and news this season. So head to the website today, that is betonline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, and put some money on, I don't know, Dustin Brown going right back up to that top line, because sure, why not?
That's cursed.
All of that at betonline.net, because betonline is where the game starts. And I also have to tell you about Built Bar, because Built Bar is actually a super great companion to Athletic Greens. You've taken your protein drink supplement, and now you're going to have a delicious protein bar to go along with it, because Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes exactly like a candy bar. It is delicious, it is nutritious, and they have a ton of incredible flavors. They've got mint brownie, they've got coconut almond, they've got strawberry. They have so many incredible flavors. And if you haven't tried the Built Puffs, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Built Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They are fluffy, they are soft, they are chewy, they are delicious. They're covered in 100% real chocolate, and let's be honest, they have the best flavors as well. I feel like by talking about the Churro Puff, I am going to summon Jason from the void, but they're so good. My personal favorite, banana cream pie. They're my favorites. They're going to be yours as well. So go to built.com right now. And here's the best bit. If you use promo code LOCKED15, you will get 15% off your order. Once again, that is promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, for 15% off at built.com.
All right, you are listening to Locked On Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, talking to you all about the Los Angeles Kings. And we're going to look at the rain in just a hot minute, but I do want to continue our grievance airing regarding like just what is this team? Why do they hurt us like this? They have, like we mentioned, Viktor Arvidsson probably going to be out for this upcoming game on Monday against the Bruins. They have a lot of different options as to what they could do, to fill that void for the upcoming game. They're on a road trip, so they're not going to call anyone else up. They do have, some guys happening to be sitting around though. For the Kings, Brendan Lemieux was scratched in this game because he got hurt the game previously. They also have Carl Grundstrom, who has been sitting out. And instead, I have the distinct feeling we're going to see like Dustin Brown on the second line, and for reasons. And I just, the more I think about it, I'm big mad. Also, Todd McClellan is supposed to be back for this game against the Bruins. He's been out on the COVID protocols, but I think they said that he will be back behind the bench on Monday. And just like, if I was a betting person, I would put money on them somehow disappointing me. And I feel bad for like ripping on Dustin Brown, but man,
he's a million years old and he's not good anymore. And I know this is going to come back to bite me, just as it did in the Blue Jackets game. But like, how is he playing 16 minutes of ice time a night when Martin Ferk is in Ontario, or TJ Tynan is in Ontario, or Gabe Velarde is in Ontario? Like, it's great to see. Jared Anderson-Dolan, I thought, had a really, really good game. He was super noticeable. That Anderson-Dolan, Kopitar Kempe line, extremely noticeable and fun. So, I feel a little vindicated there, but like, how are we still? It is 2022. How is Dustin Brown still in the top 6 for this team on a semi-regular basis?
To hurt us, like, mentally. I have taken psychic damage from what this team is doing. But that is it for us today here on the show, looking at the Kings. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Jay, as always, for joining the program to talk about this ridiculous organization. For anyone who wants to hear more from you, see your stuff online, read your coverage about the Reign, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER. You can find all of my coverage of the Reign over at FPH Reign. You can find the written work that I do at fieldpasshockey.com. And if you care about the Blue Jackets, which again I cannot recommend in good conscience, but if you would like to learn what it's like to be sad in a group, Locked On Blue Jackets is over at LO_Blue Jackets, and you can also find it wherever you get Locked On LA Kings.
All right. And for me, you can find me on Twitter at Right Said Sarah. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On LA Kings, of course, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on the YouTubes. And make sure you're following. Come back every day this week for more Kings news and keep up with what is happening with this team. All of that and more on Locked On Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.